The United States has launched new airstrikes against Iran-backed terrorists who continue to attack American troops overseas. So far, our side has killed 6 Iranian proxy fighters, the first death since the U.S. began its airstrikes nearly 1 month ago. They've hit us 52 times and we've hit them 3. Do the math. This is outnumbered. I'm Harris Fowler, here with my co-host, Kayleigh McEnany. Also joining us, Fox friends. First co-host Carly, Shimkus, and Hudson Institute Senior Fellow Rebecca Heinrichs is here. Great to see you in person. Fox News contributor and Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, Mark Tess. Let's start. The Pentagon confirmed U.S. warplanes bomb 2 facilities inside eastern Syria. Both belong to Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. One was a major training center, we're told the other. A Revolutionary Guard, safe house. Sunday's airstrikes are the 3rd time in 2 weeks. The United States is fired back against the killers that Iran pays for, and trains American troops stationed in and around Iraq and Syria have now been attacked a staggering 52 times, just since October 17th, including 4 additional attacks. Since yesterday's strike, we hit them once, they hit us 4 times. And it's been like that. Fox News senior strategic analyst General Jack Keane says he thinks the United States needs a stronger response to deter it. This is the 3rd strike, and this time the focus was on people, a training center, and a safe house. I don't know if it's going to be effective. I would want it to be effective, as is everybody does. My sense is it will not be because it's not comprehensive enough, just dealing with the proxies themselves. What am I talking about? Go after the leaders, go after the fighters, go after the rockets, missiles. Drones, go after all. The logistical infrastructure. Do it all at once. In one night, that's well within us strike capability. No risk to a single pilot. And doing that I think may get their attention. What do you think, Rebecca? Well, I agree with the general. I mean, no administration has a worse grasp on the concept of deterrence than this administration. You have to understand what the Iranians want. The Iranians want the United States out. They're going to go through these proxies to continue attack us bases until the United States responds and goes in after a significant counterstrike against the IRGC and communicates the Iran regime that we're not going to tolerate this. These attacks are going to continue. You know, I've been talking with military hierarchy. Some of them retired recently. Some served in previous wars 30, 40 years ago. And they all to a person tell me that none of this will deter Iran at this point, that they have made so much ground up in 5-2 times that we would really have to hit them hard. So my question is, we've lost the sort of advantage of retaliatory or the equal equality in terms of how they hit us. What do we really need to do? Well, that's the momentum issue, and that's about reestablishing deterrence. So it's going to have to require an enormous strategic shift in the thinking of this White House to do what is necessary. You're right, Harris. I mean, we are on the back foot. I mean, there's this saying, either we run the show or the show runs you. And right now, it's China, Russia, Iran running the show, Mark. What are the politics of the Biden administration on this? I know it's an election year, re-election year for the president coming up. That feels like it's driving it. But what is his doctrine? Can you describe it? His doctrine is weakness, and weakness is provocative. That's what we're seeing when your enemies fire at you with abandon and you barely respond. That is weakness, and that's dangerous, because that emboldens them to do more. And what's going to happen eventually is an American's going to get killed, and then we're going to have to escalate, because once they kill an American citizen, then we can't sit back and do this. And then what we need to do is go back to what Donald Trump was doing when he was president of the United States. Donald Trump set a clear red line. He said, if Iran or its proxies kills a single American citizen, we will not hold the proxies responsible. We will hold Iran responsible, and we will militarily strike Iran. And when Iran cross that red line, he killed Qasem Soleimani. And not only did Iran not respond to that, peace broke out. There were not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Abraham Accords in the region, because Iran is the destabilizer in the region, and as long as they're not deterred, you can't have peace. And that's what we're seeing. They were about to have another Abraham Accord with Saudi Arabia, and this war stopped it because Iran wanted to stop it. You know, Carly, when we talk about the deaths, and if one American soldier dies and all of that, some of these injuries are pretty dire. I mean, our men and women in these 52 attacks. Yeah, now north of 50, the injuries, and many of them have traumatic brain injuries. So, What does that actually mean? How traumatic, and what does that mean for the future of isn't enough? Isn't that enough? So we're talking about these 52 strikes that have taken place over the past month. Congressman Mike Walt was saying that there have been 70 strikes over the past 2 years that have gone unresponded to. So this has been going on for much longer than just this moment, and a lot of military minds would say that it would go back to 2 years ago to deter this. Now the Biden administration obviously concerned about escalation. 6 Iranians dead. What does that mean? But if you wanted to prevent this from happening at all, that would have gone back to the start of the Biden administration. Also, I want to talk about the money. John Radcliffe said that in 2020, the United States was listening to Iranian military and political leaders, and they were saying, we're out of money. We cannot fund Hamas and Hezbollah anymore. And they told the Biden administration that, and they ignored it, and they reversed the Trump administration's maximum pressure campaign. And now the Wall Street Journal has a headline that says that Iran has made an additional $32 to $35 billion since Joe Biden took office because they can now export more oil. So it's military, but it's also money, yeah. Yeah, and it's also all the ammo and drones and other things, missiles, ballistic types of ammunitions that they have put on the market just since a few days ago. Actually, you know what's interesting? So it would have been that very week when all those Iran proxies started hitting us that the United Nations sanctions rolled away, and we didn't backstop that with our own sanctions saying, no, we're going to clamp down where the UN is letting up. But from what Carl is saying, I just don't think that this administration has learned from Biden's 50 years in office. No, these are great examples. You all have given, Carly, you're exactly right, reversing Trump's maximum pressure campaign. But even beyond that, as Trump was on his way out, what Pompeo did was designate the Houthi rebels who, by the way, shot down a Reaper drone. Last week, a U.S. Reaper drone designated them as a terrorist group. One of Biden's first actions with his State Department was to delist them. Why would he do that? Yeah, it confounds me. It confounds me because we've gone from peace through strength to violence through weakness. Here is where we are at. And I talked to Keith Kellogg Friday night on Hannity, and he said to me, we need an escalation ladder that we're not afraid to climb up. We're not afraid of provoking the other side. He said, to quote him exactly, you need to put something at risk that Iran does not want to lose. And he said what Trump put at risk was, we went for Soleimani next up. We're coming for you, Ayatollah. He said so. We need to say, Ayatollah, we're not afraid to come after you. We're not afraid to dismantle your drone factories. We're not afraid to dismantle your Navy, Iran. They need to know. We mean business. But right now, we just delist the Houth, and by the way, bipartisan efforts on the Hill now to relist them. You have Democratic congressmen pressing a Democrat commander-in-chief to be stronger. That is sad. Well, I don't know how everybody stays so calm, because this is mad and this is almost like it's being done on purpose. And when I said 50 years of experience with Joe Biden, yeah, because he was a senator forever. He was a congressman before that. He was a vice president for 8 years. He's been a president now for 2.5, almost 3 years. How much information do you need in terms of lived experience to do a better job as Commander-in-Chief, Rebecca? What Kayleigh just laid out is frightening. No, it is frightening, and it is on purpose actually, because the Biden administration came in and did very intentionally undo the Trump administration's approach towards the entire Middle East. So they relaxed the maximum pressure campaign because against the Iranians, because they actually wanted, reproach me towards Iran. They wanted to actually have better relations with Iran. So they released that, and all of those funds went to Iranian proxies, and the other piece to the Trump administration's policy was to go full in and back Israel and sort of table the Israeli-Palestinian challenge and just go full in on Israel. Those were the 2 pillars of the Trump administration's approach towards the Middle East. Both of those pillars were reversed under the Biden administration. So the Biden administration wanted to hold the hand of the enemy while it took the other hand, with an axe in its hand and chopped off our head. Yeah, essentially I mean this. First, it was the Obama administration sending them pallets of cash. Remember the pallets of cash, the secret flights, and then the Trump administration came in and squeezed them, and they were the front page story in the New York Times, saying the Hezbollah fighters can't get paid because Iran doesn't have money. It's not just conservative media saying this. The New York Times, Washington Post, other people saying it, and then Biden comes in and restarts it again, and we're at war in the Middle East. Not we, but there's a major war in the Middle East. I think there's a pattern here, right? You know, I'm not an expert at pattern recognition, but I think one thing failed. One thing worked, one thing failed. Maybe we go back to what works well. Can we do that? Also, on them hitting us, they hit us 52 times. You hit them 3 and they're going to hit us again and again and again. That's not working either. So during the War on Terror, the most dangerous job in America was being the operational commander of Al-Qaeda. We got KSM, and then every guy who popped his head up after that got knocked off. We got to make the most dangerous job in the world, to be Soleimani's successor. Yep, yeah, absolutely.